views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Open BxRx Remote, brought to you from my living workspace, Charlie Executive Suite. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche every Friday. Here's what's coming up in today's show. Leading things off, we'll speak to New York City Hospitality Alliance Executive Director Andrew Rigie about the restaurants resuming indoor dining ahead of Valentine's Day, along with the possible $25 billion grant program for struggling restaurants. After that, we'll be joined by Transformational guide Rebecca Gitana Torres to discuss her upcoming Couples Cocoon of Transformation event for Valentine's Day. Then we sit with filmmaker Dr. Cedrick Smith about his film To Be Us, to Work, a documentary covering the issues of racism in the workplace. Later on in the show, Bobby C brings us an up-to-date with the latest headlines in the world of sports. And lastly, this week's Open Artist Spotlight shines on saxophonist Utril Rhaburn, who will perform for us in celebration of Black History Month and Valentine's Day. You don't want to miss. So sit back y prepárate. All this and more is headed your way, because now we are officially open. Welcome to Open. Happy Black History Month. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche for the next hour, encouraging you to get social with us online. Don't forget, let's connect. Tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BronxNet TV, or like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. And of course, while you're there, you can follow moi on Twitter, FB, Instagram, Insta Stories, and LinkedIn at Rhina Valentin. So it's been almost 2 months since Governor Cuomo announced the suspension of indoor dining due to the increase in COVID cases. Well, starting today, restaurants are going to be able to resume indoor dining at 25% capacity. And that's for just in time Valentine's Day weekend. And although it is another chance to regain more revenue, many are still fighting for at least 50% capacity. And joining us to discuss more on what's next for the restaurant industry, as well as the latest of the $25 billion grant program, we welcome New York City Hospitality Alliance Executive Director Andrew Rigie. Hello, how are you?
Hello, great to see you.
I know, great to see you again, right? I would have hoped we were in a different position by this time. And I'm sure you would as well.
Indeed.
Yeah. However, I mean, we've got some good news this time around.
Yeah, well, listen, our restaurant industry has been absolutely decimated. So beginning to open at 25%, while it's not the 50% occupancy like restaurants throughout the rest of New York State have, it's a start. Hopefully we can get to 50% soon. And I love your red shirt and red glasses coming up on Valentine's Day. The good news was restaurants were originally supposed to open up indoors on Valentine's Day. And as we've been saying, many in the restaurant industry and people going out for Valentine's Day were heartbroken because it falls on a Sunday this year. So they're going to miss the Friday and Saturday business. So it got bumped up to Friday. Today, we're opened up, and it's a good start, but we need to increase capacity soon. And we're also going to need a lot more support from the federal, state, and city government to give these small business owners and all these workers who are the backbone of our industry and our city a fighting chance.
Yeah, well, the restaurant business is the backbone of New York City. It is what people primarily indulge in New York City. And so, all right, so we're at 25%, hoping for 50 sooner than later. with regards to just where we are with the vaccine, the new strains, like how do you see this folding out?
Well, listen, it's an impossible situation. We're nearly 1 year into this pandemic now, and we have to manage all of these risks, and there's no good solutions. I mean, the good news is that we have been advocating for restaurant workers to be eligible for the vaccine, which thankfully they now are. We know there is shortages in the vaccine. That's not unique just to the restaurant industry. That's for all the eligible populations, but hopefully we continue to increase capacity there. And we're gonna have to balance all of this. Restaurants have been open indoors at 50% occupancy throughout the rest of New York State since back in June. And for consecutive months, one after another, infection rates and hospitalization rates continue to go down until what they call the holiday surge, people getting together for the holidays. And we know from contact tracing data, private social gatherings are where the biggest spread is occurring. And not really from highly regulated, reduced occupancy restaurants. So we need to be careful. We need to be vigilant. We need to make sure we're following all the safety protocols. And we need customers to respect all of them as well and engage in best practices, wearing your mask when you're sitting down if you're not eating, or if someone's coming over to your table to take an order. And being patient, and of course, tipping well. So it's a tough situation. Over the past year, New York City restaurants and bars have lost more than 140,000 jobs. I mean, it's a dire situation. And these are people from all walks of life that are out of work. We've lost thousands of small businesses, and we really need to support them and get them going again in a safe way. We need to bring back New York City's restaurant industry if we want New York City to come back.
Yeah, and as the executive director of the New York City Hospitality Alliance, how is it that you serve the Alliance? How is it that you are of service to anyone who may not even be familiar with the Alliance?
Sure. Well, we are a not-for-profit association that represents the city's restaurant and nightlife industry. So we have several thousand members in the 5 boroughs, ranging from, the small mom and pop cafes to the big 4-star restaurants to, neighborhood pubs to big nightclubs and kind of everything in between. So we have a whole advocacy team. We get in the halls of government these days, the virtual halls of government, and advocate for policies on behalf of the industry for support, financial support, reducing regulatory burdens, providing policies that help support the industry, like capping the outrageous third-party delivery fees from companies like Grubhub and Seamless, suspending enforcement of personal liability guarantees and license and leases that a lot of these restaurateurs sign, getting federal support like the PPP money, getting changes made to it. And now this new plan, the Restaurants Act, which will provide more grants to restaurants. We're really on the front line fighting and advocating for the industry. We do a lot of education and training seminars online these days, send out newsletters, keeping people on top of the changing rules and regulations, the different industry trends, and really being almost an extended member of their staff, fighting, supporting, educating, and informing them in any way we can to mitigate the loss and help save our industry.
And so this $25 billion grant program, how far along have you come in it? I mean, you're there in the forefront fighting for it. So what does that really look like? Is it really going to happen? What kind of micro grants are going to be offered in that process? Like, what is that whole movement in as far as, okay, there's your contribution in serving the restaurants, and then how do the restaurants gain access to the information and the knowledge and or qualify for it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're getting very close. Last year, we had a bill called the Restaurants Act. It passed the House of Representatives. It had 53 sponsors in the U.S. Senate, so it was bipartisan. Ultimately, it didn't pass because of a whole bunch of crazy politics that are happening in DC. But essentially what it was a revitalization fund that would provide restaurants the difference between their 2019 and 2020 revenues. And they could use that money as a straight grant, not a convertible loan like the Paycheck Protection Program, to pay for the multiple months of missed rent, payroll, vendor expenses. Because let's remember, it's not just the restaurant owners and the restaurant workers, it's the Upstate Farm, we purchase our produce from. It's a sales rep we buy our beer from, the florist, and all these other people that rely on a vibrant restaurant industry for their livelihood. So it was really to help shore up from the bottom up the restaurant economy and restaurant ecosystem, so to speak. The Restaurants Act was just reintroduced this year with the Biden administration now, and with our own New York's U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer as majority leader, who's been fighting like crazy for us to pass this new bill, which would be part of the reconciliation process. It's a new $25 billion fund. The exact provisions are being worked out, but it would essentially provide grants to restaurants for loss of revenue to be spent on all of these expenses. So we're very hopeful. The House of Representatives seems to support it, as does the Biden administration. So we just need to get that structure out and the money flowing as soon as possible. So it's not 100% until it's 110%, but we are very, very close, and we keep fighting, and hopefully next time I'm on the show, sooner than later, we'll be talking about how people just got money in their bank accounts.
Sounds lovely. It sounds lovely. And this is all actually really pretty good news considering. And what a wonderful weekend to kick it off on, the weekend of love. So thank you for coming here and sharing it with our viewers, Andrew.
Thanks always for having me. So nice to see you. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's to you too. All right, you guys, that was the Executive Director of the New York City Hospitality Alliance, Andrew Rigie. And for more resources and the latest on New York City restaurants, you can visit the New York City, it's the NYC Alliance.org. All right, we do have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll learn about Couples Cocoon you and your significant other can enjoy for Valentine's Day. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. So if you're looking for a unique Valentine gift amid being sheltered in place, that is, well, check it out. This Valentine's Day weekend, there's a Couples Cocoon of Transformation event. Where couples will go on a sensual journey into conscious connection with their significant other while connecting mentally and spiritually to further deepen intimacy. And joining us to tell us more, we welcome Transformational Guide, Gitana Torres. Hello and welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here, and happy early Valentine's Day to all.
Oh, thank you. Happy Valentine's to you too. I love this concept. I hope I introduced it properly and gave it the props that has me so excited, because I think it's a really brilliant concept, considering we are sheltered in place, considering people are constantly in each other's faces. And I think there's a sense of overlooking that occurs when you're constantly in the same motion, right? And so it is Valentine's weekend, and while, yes, restaurants are going to be opening up at a 25% capacity, if you are not comfortable with going out, what do you do to make the weekend special?
Yeah, and, chocolates, fancy dinners, all of that, that's all fun and cute, dressing up. But really, if you want to connect to your partner on a deeper level, now is a great time to start bringing in some of more of those connection practices that actually can last far longer than, some balloons.
So, right, let's just bring it back to that. We have arrived to a place for almost a year now where we've been forced to really reconnect with ourselves. And although I'm just on a superficial level, I was acknowledging the fact that you're in each other's faces on a daily basis. That is, the circumstances of people having to do what we're calling the COVID shuffle, where somebody's occupying this room and that one based on the time of the day. But at the end of the day, you're together all day long. And so in having to look deeper within self, that there also comes this having to look deeper within what matters within a relationship, which is what I love about this program that you've designed. So please do take the floor and just share with everyone what they're going to experience participating.
Yes. So the Cocoon of Transformation on a whole, it's been a communal healing gathering that I've been doing both on the East Coast, the West Coast, and virtually for a few years now. And this is the first time that I've been offering a group Couples Cocoon of Transformation. Although what's happening is a lot of couples are, because I gave options, you could either join the group cocoon or you can join an individual session with you and your partner. And that seems to be what most couples are going for at this time. And why is that powerful? Because you get to come into a safe space and talk some things out, you know, share some things. Many times we don't share things with our partner because we are afraid of the aftermath of that truth, or we just don't know how. And so
Right.
I create that safe space for couples to kind of talk about the things that are going on underneath the surface. And I can also see what's going on with each person, because we're not just a couple. We are individual people. And so that's a very important part of how I work with couples, is acknowledging your individuality and where you are separately. You know, it's like, oh, we. No, it's you and you makes you guys, you know?
Got it.
And so yeah.
Just out of clarity, I just want some clarity in the way you're explaining everything. Is this going to be conducted virtually?
Yes, it's going to be conducted.
I just wanted clarity on that. Okay.
I haven't really been working with too many couples in person because of everything that's going on.
Right. I just wanted to make sure, because if somebody is watching, I want them to know that basically they have this time period in which you're going to be facilitating, in which they have to make a date with each other to participate in this in their home.
In your home. And what's great is, you know, we get a bit of that, you know, that talking it out, that spiritual counseling, that bringing things to the surface. And then in the cocoon, each person will get to do some of their own individual cleansing and clearing and seeing themselves. We have to see ourselves before we can actually see our partner. And then we go into the practices of weaving your cocoon together and bringing your energies together and, you know, reintroducing yourself to your partner, and learning how to communicate even beyond words. There's so many ways that we can communicate with our partners and express things that are on our hearts. Looking into your partner's eyes is so important. Using all 5 senses to communicate and to connect, and having a little fun also, you know, having a little fun, being playful. Many times relationships go south because we forget how to be playful the way you were playful in the beginning, you know, little, you know, the back and forth and all of that energy that is flirtatious. We lose it when we get into the everyday routines of getting up and this and that and the responsibilities. And many times we don't even look into our partner's eyes anymore, as they just become like a figure in the space, but not actually like, that's my lover. That's the person I chose.
Right. And you know, prior to getting on air, we had a brief discussion about just language such as sensual, right? Sensual is not necessarily the same as sexual. It's a different it's a different it has a different what's the word I'm looking for? It has a different action that actually defines it, because it can present itself through different acts, not necessarily in just trying to be sexy.
Yes, absolutely. So being sensual, you can be sensual in, hold on one second. I'm sorry. Quiet on the set.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
It's hilarious, because as we were saying, we call it the COVID shuffle of,
you know what I'm saying? Daddy, thank you. Sorry, I had to do that.
Hilarious. I love it. Pero, hey, we were going back to daddy over there with the sensual.
Yeah, daddy with the sensual. So.
And by the way, we're not saying daddy as in her father. That's not what we're
No.
Just to be clear.
Gitana Jr.'s daddy. That's who we're talking about. So sensuality is something that we can practice with everything that we do. Drinking a glass of water, I can do it in a sensual way. I can connect with the water. I can appreciate that I have magic in my hands. You know, I can look into it and drink it in a way that's, you know, let it fill your mouth, savor the flavor, you know what I'm saying? And allow that to enter into your being. So that's what being sensual is. And everyone today, whether you're single or not, you can be sensual in all things. When you're making yourself a meal, you know, doing it in a loving way, infusing love into what you're doing, you know, everything that you cut and how you throw it into the pan. You can practice sensuality in all things. And it's such an important practice to do that, because sensuality, being sensual, is the same as savoring. And when we savor the flavor of the moment, that's actually practicing mindfulness. That's actually living a walking meditation.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And it's a level of consciousness in which, you know, you have to be mindful of in order to connect, because now you're being specific in everything. You're being deliberate is the word. It's deliberate.
Being present in the moment. And these are all powerful things to cultivate, single or not.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I gotta tell you, you're looking sensual with your forest right behind you.
You know, and that's the other thing. When we're in nature, right? We can feel our goddess energy when we are surrounded by mindful interior design, as I teach through Healing Through the Home. That creates this flow of energy, and we need that flow of energy. Again, single or not, we have to remember that our sensual or sexual energy, it is our creative energy. It comes from our sacral chakra, our sacred space, and that energy center wants to be fed all the time. And the more that we feed it, the more we acknowledge it, the more you'll find better flow in your work, in your money flow, because you're creating, and you want to be a musician, you want to create art, whatever it is that you want to do, it all comes from, whatever you create in life comes from your creative center. And so that's why it's important to, you know, work with our creative center and nurture that space.
Exactly. I love it. Oh my gosh. We can go on and on and on, but they're wrapping us, unfortunately. And it's beautiful because at the end of the day, what we're really sharing with you guys is the importance of being present to yourself and being present to the people that are around you and or your significant other. Thank you so much for bringing it to us here, Rebecca Gitana Torres. Woo! And she's a transformational guide. Love that title. And I wanted to invite you guys. I believe there's still some availability to sign up for the Couples Cocoon of Transformation event. And that's happening this weekend, right? For Valentine's Day weekend. And you can go to her website, which is RebeccaGitana.com.
Yes.
All right, we got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about a documentary focusing on racism in the workplace. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back. So, in an effort to continue dismantling systemic racism, our next guest took part in producing To Be Us to Work, a documentary discussing the treatment of Black employees in the workplace while also highlighting the psychological and chronic health consequences of racism. The film has won Best of Festival Award at the International Black Film Festival and also happens to be the first of many to come by the production company To Be Us Productions. And joining us to tell us more, we welcome the filmmaker of To Be Us and CEO, Cedrick Smith. Hello, Cedrick. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me on this platform. I really appreciate it. So glad to be here. And so happy about being able to talk about the film.
Yeah, well, congratulations, first and foremost.
Thank you.
I would imagine the timing is impeccable. Let's just start with when you shot this film and how you were able to mobilize it, and then yeah, how relevant it is still today in 2021.
Yeah, we started. Let me give you a little background. I was an activist, did a lot of activist work over the last 6 years, and from those activist activities, I would often find myself and Tosca, who's a co-producer and co-director on the film, going to some of these, town hall meetings, going to some of these meetings that were around, Black issues, police brutality, systemic oppression, everything you could think of. And so what we found was that we would come away from some of the meetings a little bit feeling empty, not feeling as if we didn't go all the way in on the topic. And that culprit or that topic that we felt wasn't being talked about was white supremacy, systemic racism. And so there was always, not always, because there were some that were very good meetings, but in large part, there were a lot of instances where, we didn't name it, or we were trying to couch or trying to make people feel comfortable who weren't Black and brown. And so what led to making the film was that we were so tired of that we said, let's start telling our own stories. Let's start telling what it's like to be us. And literally the name of the production company came from that. And then we made this film, To Be Us to Work, which highlights systemic racism that Black folks face in the work environment. And the reason why we chose that topic was because we felt it was universal. I mean, you've been working since you were 16 years old, and we felt like everybody had a story that they could tell. I mean, I have my own, Tosca had hers that was very fresh at the time. And we felt as though we could get a lot of material when you're trying to do your first film. The fear we had, however, was, were we going to be able to get people to tell it on film, which is a whole nother issue. The unique thing about this film is that it was shot in 2019, prior to the quote awakening that we've had since the murder of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and so forth. And so it has that kind of caveat to it that these people were really very scared of reprisals, retaliation, losing their job. Do I really have to tell this on film? Can you block out my face? Whatever the case may be. But to the storytellers, to a person, they really exhibited a lot of courage, a lot of vulnerability to tell their stories on film.
Right, in an authentic manner too, right? Really truthful. I was able to see a little bit of the trailer, and hopefully we'll be able to share some B-roll just so that people can get the sense of the difference in occupations, different levels, different roles. I mean, yourself, for example, I know you didn't really want us to identify you as your day occupation, but I think it's important that we share with everyone that you're a doctor by trade.
Yeah.
First
yeah, I
and
am
foremost.
a physician. Yeah, I am a physician. That's kind of how I pay my bills. And that's actually how we pay the bills of To Be Us, to be honest. When you start the side hustle, if you will. And yeah,
Well, that's a pretty important side hustle, doctor. I mean, right now, I have to say thank you for your service, because you're in the forefront of all of this.
Tough. I do urgent care, which is in the forefront of the pandemic. It's been tough. We haven't taken a day off since pandemic. It's been tough on my staff. It's been tough on all of us. It's been tough on everybody. Yeah, and I have my own working wild Black stories in regard to being a physician or being a medical student.
The only reason I brought it up really is because you've lived it, right? Because you're in this high level position, but yet there's still that similarity in feeling, in being in certain environments, which is what the film captures. Based on what I heard, is kind of like, you're the token person, or you're like the person that's at the table that has different hair or wears vibrant colors, or whatever it is, whatever that is that identifies the culture as standing out in certain environments based on being the minority.
And the one thing about that, you bring up a very valid point, is that in the film, I'm highly degreed, so I have a medical degree. So that puts me in the quote professional category, if you will. But what this film is about a plethora of people who range in all types of fields, who are general laborers, who are medical assistants, who are doctors. We have the person in the film who is a doctor, or academicians, or teachers. A lot of the people that had experiences with systemic racism in the workplace, or anti-Blackness in the workplace as well, to be more specific, were teachers as well. So we oftentimes, when you see a lot of working while Black stories, if you will, we tend to go to the corporate, C-suite type stories, or they're even in the articles that you're seeing nowadays, you kind of see where it's a celebrity, or when as an actress or an actor,
or an athlete, too.
Or an athlete. I couldn't get, and so they're very popular, but that person's uncle, aunt, sister, cousin that's not a celebrity, they feel in the heat too in the workplace, and deal with the systemic racism that has outcomes both psychologically and physically, that manifest in ways like high blood pressure and diabetes. I mean, the stress of working in an environment that is somewhat, I hate to use this word, but it is what it is. It's terroristic at times for people, because they are fearful. They are literally that scared. You see that in the film.
That's true, though. That's truth you're speaking right there, because you're a doctor. You're walking around carrying all this tension all the time. Eventually, your body adopts it, right?
Correct. I mean, cortisol levels are up. I mean, imagine, I don't want to say that it's like being in a war, because I can't even imagine what being in war is like. However, what we call the fight and flight response of individuals, when I'm pretty sure everybody, even in your audience, has been in some way, shape, or form involved in an altercation or an argument where they felt this kind of surge and urge of energy, which is the adrenaline that's being produced. Well, imagine that type of high intensity output occurring on a chronic basis daily, because you are so fearful in your work environment, or so invalidated, or so overlooked, or so microaggressed. And a lot of times, even in the film, we like to name things. We feel that naming things are what help people heal. To get down to the scab, to get down to the wound, in order for us to make a change. So when we have words like microaggression, I didn't know what that word meant, 15 years ago. I knew that I had a funny feeling when somebody said something like, so you're in real medical school, or you're a real doctor, or, these types of slights that it is somewhat racist, what they say, but the volume is turned down. And so we say, oh,
but you could feel it. You could feel it. You could feel what the intentions are.
You can feel it. You can feel it.
I'm a person of color, and I identify as an Afro-Latina, so I understand. I completely understand, and I think what you've produced is so valuable, and I think the fact that you are a doctor also loans itself to the quality of the story that's being told, and how it's going to really be grasped, because it isn't just this aspect of like documenting people's stories. It's also like the components of your physicality and how it affects you mentally, and all of that is very, very, very important to bring it to the forefront right now amid this pandemic. And mind you, you shot this in 2019, right? Yeah,
exactly. Can I give you just an example of one of the stories?
I don't know if we have time, because
right.
you know what, we just left them with the teaser that they're going to have to go watch it, because I think you shared a lot for people to understand that just even watching it, you're going to feel a sense of relation in which you can now start possibly just exercising it yourself, because the idea is that you release it from your body. In the communication.
And that's what we want to do. We want to. Exactly, and that's what we want to do.
Be us to work. To be us to work, right? That's the title.
Correct.
Right. And so before we go, just tell everybody where they could see it, because we're talking about it and we're like, oh, great. That's why I had to mention the title again. To Be Us to Work is the film.
To work. Yeah, we want everyone to see it. We want to put it out there in distribution. Unfortunately, right now, we're not in distribution. We're currently in the film festival season. And so with that, it can only be screened in the specific film festival. And those film festivals have very strict rules that you have to follow, that you can't be seen on, TV or in the theaters yet until you have completed the film festival cycle. So that being the case, we want everybody to see it. We're looking for a distribution deal. That's what every filmmaker wants to do. We want to make other films, which we have a lineup of films that we want to make. But right now, currently, just follow us at our website at tobeusproductions.com, tobeusproductions.com. And you can see all of our handles and social media, pages and everything that can tell you, when our next festival is coming up. So you will be able to see it pending a distribution deal.
Love it. Love it. And thank you for bringing it here with us to our viewers. That's Dr. Cedrick Smith. He is the CEO. I know you said not to say, but you are, and you earned it. So we acknowledge you and we thank you. But however, today he's wearing the Filmmaker's hat as the CEO of To Be Us Productions. And once again, To Be Us, the film is To Be Us to Work. That's the film name. That's the documentary we're talking about. But it's also been produced by To Be Us Productions, which can be found at tobeusproductions.com. Got that? All right, you guys. And once again, or you can even watch it too there, right? I believe.
Well, you can see the trailer. You can definitely see the trailer there. But again, we don't have a paywall set up where people can see it. And again, we're in film festivals that have these types of rules. So probably the next 6 months or so, or maybe even sooner, if somebody comes along and says, hey, we'll give you a deal, we'll take it out of the film festival season and make a deal with them. So we're hopeful that happens.
Well, in the meantime, go check out To Be Us at tobeusproductions.com. All right, you guys don't go anywhere because Bobby C's Weekly Sports Roundup is coming up next.
Bronx boy Saquon Barkley was right. Never bet against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. The young New York Giants star and myself picked the 43-year-old quarterback in the Super Bowl this past Sunday. I was right about Tampa besting Kansas City. I was even right about how many points the Buccaneers would score and who the big game MVP would be. The only part of the story that I didn't have right was how many the high-powered Chiefs and QB Patrick Mahomes would muster and looking to repeat as champs. More on that later. Final score in the Super Bowl, Tampa Bay 31, KC 9, 201 yards and 3 touchdowns for Brady. The GOAT secures his 5th Super Bowl MVP award and 7th ring, more than any NFL franchise. Here's the oldest quarterback in Super Bowl history.
It's been an amazing year. Amazing year. We got off to a good start, 7-2, and then had a little rough stretch where we kind of found our identity and played a lot better football down last December, January. And just really proud of all the guys, proud of all the coaches, the effort we put in. We knew we were playing a great football team tonight, and we got the job done.
Here's the oldest winning coach in NFL history, 68-year-old Bruce Arians.
Hell no, I ain't going anywhere. I'm coming back, try to get 2. And then we'll see after that. But no, this football team, I love these guys. And we have a great staff, great team. Hopefully Jason and I can get together and keep most of them and try to repeat.
The Chiefs failed to score a touchdown. For Mahomes, that's a first in his pro career. It's also a first for the Chiefs since they lost to the G-Men all the way back in 2017. Here's Mahomes on what he calls his worst performance ever.
Obviously, I didn't play the way I wanted to play, but I mean, what else can you say? All you can do is leave everything you have on the field, and I feel like the guys did that. They were the better team today. They beat us pretty good. The worst I think I've been beaten in a long time. But I'm proud of the guys and how they fought till the very end of the game.
Now, some of the credit, of course, should go to that outstanding Tampa Bay defense. It was led by former Jets head coach Todd Bowles, now the defensive coordinator for a squad that includes former Big Blue Super Bowl champion Jason Pierre-Paul. Here's Todd Bowles on stopping Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Well, the biggest thing was to cover up the receivers and make them hold the ball a little bit so our rush could get there. And I think mixing up the coverages and moving some guys around and making them think a little bit and take away his first read allowed those guys to get off up front and covering the guys in the back.
From the Super Bowl to the Super Bowl of racing. The Daytona 500 is this Sunday at 2:30 p.m. on Fox. We caught up with several of the drivers during Speed Week.
You got to be good all year long. There's the opportunity that you can get through the playoffs, even if you don't have many playoff points, but you don't leave yourself any, cushion to fall back on if you don't run well.
We saw how Super Bowls can go to underdogs. This race this Sunday is no different. A serious contender among those underdogs is Timmy Hill, who was the most active driver across the 3 national series in 2020.
What has been the biggest thing that you've learned from a busy 2020 and actively racing in the 3 national series? And then does this perhaps make you less of an underdog in the Daytona 500?
Yeah, absolutely. Last year I ran 75 races between Cup, Xfinity, and trucks. And I tell you what, it was exhausting, but it was rewarding. I'm glad I did it because I learned so much. I mean, there are some races that were just pretty doggone difficult to be a part of, and some were really good races. I've had all the above. So with that being said, experience is something that you can't take for granted.
Shout out to the underdogs and the old guys this week. Also a big hand for those that are extending helping hands in sports today. Yankees Luke Voit and Gio Urshela and Met Michael Conforto were among those honored at the 41st Annual Thurman Munson Awards on Tuesday, February 2nd. The awards dinner benefits AHRC New York City Foundation, which assists children and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities and pays homage to the late, great Yankees catcher and captain. Here's more with Luke Voit.
It's a big honor. I really, really, really appreciate it. And I know it's gone a long time, 30 plus years with doing this and, giving these awards out. So it's awesome. And it even means a lot that you're partnering with AHRC this year too, because, my little sister has disabilities too. And, to have the resources they do and to how they've helped so many people, with disabilities and, intellectual disabilities as well, to what they've done for our society and, in the community, especially in the 5 boroughs up in the city. It's been great. So that's what makes this award even more in my heart too. So I really appreciate it.
The Met star was equally humbled and excited to get back to work in 2021.
We have the talent. We just need to put it all together. And, I think we've added some great pieces. I think we've added some great team personalities who are all pulling in the same direction. And I'm extremely excited to get to know these guys a little bit better. I've admired them from afar, but I think we all understand that, the New York Mets, people are talking about them, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything if we go out there and we lose, more games that we win than we win.
From one feel-good story to another, Jamie Freeman always wanted to play sports but couldn't because of his battle with cerebral palsy. But he felt a part of the Greenwood High School Bulldogs football team in Arkansas after the athletes awarded him a championship ring this past week. The 35-year-old has worked as the team's janitor since 2019 and says he wanted to play anything that he could growing up. But because of his disability, he was unable to play team sports. Freeman says he has suffered from cerebral palsy ever since birth. According to the CDC, cerebral palsy is a group of brain disorders that affects a person's ability to balance and move. Freeman added that the gesture says a lot about the boys and their character. Moral of the story, being a fan and supporter plays a big role in being a champion too. In the NBA, the Knicks are trying to remake their roster into a championship contender. The Orange and Blue reach an agreement on a trade to acquire Detroit Pistons guard Derrick Rose and reunite him with coach Tom Thibodeau. The Knicks send guard Dennis Smith Jr. and a 2021 second-round draft pick via the Charlotte Hornets to Detroit. Rose rejoins the Knicks, where he spent a turbulent 2016-17 season. This time, though, the Knicks are undergoing a competitive uptick under Thibodeau in his first season as the new leading man here in New York. He previously coached Rose in Chicago and Minnesota. Rose won league MVP honors with him during his days with the Bulls. And on a final sports roundup note, we dedicate this roundup to the memory of Pedro Gomez, an ESPN reporter since 2003 and one of the country's foremost baseball journalists. He died unexpectedly on Super Bowl Sunday. He was 58. Gomez covered baseball for SportsCenter and Baseball Tonight and other ESPN studio shows, live events, and radio. During his 35-year career, he covered more than 25 World Series and more than 20 All-Star games. A true gentleman in the press box. He will be dearly missed. Those are the headlines. We move to the C-list for another somber topic that appears, though, to be heading in the right direction, thanks to a place right here in the Bronx that has provided so many good memories for all of us. The city's newest mass vaccination hub is officially up and running at the big ballpark in the Bronx. Yes, Yankee Stadium. The site is open every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., but it's only for Bronx residents who are eligible to get the shot. The goal is to address the high COVID-19 positivity rate right here in the Bronx, as well as the racial disparities in the city's vaccine rollout. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo noted, open quote, "It's abundantly clear that Black, Latino, and poor communities have been hit the hardest by COVID, and the Bronx is no exception. Our efforts to target vaccinations by locations with higher positivity rates have been working to not only keep the infection rate down, but to help ensure equity in our vaccine distribution process. And opening a mass vaccination site at Yankee Stadium, the Bronx's most iconic landmark, is the perfect solution to helping this borough get vaccinated and defeat COVID once and for all." Close quote. Here's more from the Yankees.
Since the spring and the beginning of the COVID pandemic, we've been looking to establish incredible partnerships so we can address the needs in our community. It has been seamless working with the governor's office, the mayor's office, SOMOS, and the National Guard to get this done here today. And with that partnership, we are confident and hopeful we will move the needle and make a difference and address the concerns in our community at this time.
Citi Field and the Mets also followed suit this week, opening their doors to Queens residents. Check out all of the details right here on the screen for more information. Onward and upward. That's your look at sports. I'm Bobby C.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Our last guest is a Belizean American saxophonist who has been performing and traveling the world since a young age. He's a Berklee College of Music alumni and has performed at many renowned venues, including the Blue Note Jazz Club, NYC, the Red Rooster Harlem, the Plaza Hotel, and SOBs, and that's just to name a few. He's also been featured on tracks with established musical artists such as Wiz Khalifa, 2 Chainz, Joyner Lucas, Jadakiss, and more. And well, he's here to share more with us. Please welcome saxophonist Utril Rhaburn. Hello.
Thank you guys for having me. Open BX.
Yeah, you hear the.
Yeah, for sure. Feeling good.
Yeah, you know, and that's a beautiful thing. Thank you for bringing in that sunshine.
Sunshine energy, always.
Yeah.
Always.
What is that slogan that you create with?
My slogan is, well, my mantra is music made with love because you deserve it that way each and every day.
Despite the circumstances, right?
Now we got to override it with positive energy, always.
So how does a Belizean American choose to just create a life playing saxophone? Like, what is it about that instrument, that specific instrument, that drew you to it, in which you've chosen to make a life out of it?
Really growing up in Brooklyn, New York, before traveling to Germany, I was exposed to so many cultures. And it's not just their music when cars pass by, it's also the food that you eat in the streets. So I learned that it's not on you, it's in you. So I had all the culture in me. I just needed the perfect extension to send it out And my mom and dad both came from Belize, and just them traveling over and having the food, having the music, the culture, allowed me to say, hey, I want to pursue this music. So I ended up picking up the saxophone at age 9, and I've been playing 18 years now. And everything from food to language to conversation to travels, they all come through the horn as just one beam of light to the people.
That's awesome. So that's like your form of communicating, period. That
sure.
It is what it is. That's lovely. That's a lovely statement. And so obviously you've studied it, you've traveled with it, you communicate through it. And so in this particular time period that in which we're living, based on what you do for as your occupation, like how have you been able to sustain yourself? Has it been through creating with it? Has it been through performing with it? And if so, is it done virtually, or are you doing it for your family? Like, how have you been keeping your spirits up, considering you're a musician who's used to performing in live venues?
Yeah, so I read a book by a radio host called Charlemagne the God. It said, Black privilege, opportunity comes to those who create it. So I took that and I said, opportunity comes to those who create it. So if opportunity isn't there, I have to go out and create it. So for the past year and a half, even before the pandemic, I've been going out to Central Park, right near the Balto statue. And that's on East 67th and 5th Ave. And every morning that I go out there, I make sure I have my coffee, I stretch, and I meet people. And I've met hundreds of people out in Central Park, leading to me collecting currencies. And when I'm not out in Central Park, I also do private events. So a wedding, a little get together with friends and family. So a mixture of work between virtual performances, live performances, and everything in between. I've been able to sustain and be optimistic towards the future. You know, I have to thank the village, you know, my mom-in-law, my queen, my princess, all for keeping me inspired and leveled along the way.
That's beautiful. And before we go, just really quickly, I want to tap into the fact that you do collect currency. So how, you know, what got you into that? Like, and when we say currency, are we referencing the currency throughout the world, like yen, pounds? So
yeah, Japanese yen.
How does one become a collector of that?
So I became a collector, not on purpose. One guy came by from Germany, Deutschland, where I used to live. And he said, hey man, do you take euros? I don't have any US cash. And I said, sure. And then after he put a euro in, someone else gave me a note from Hungary, the forint. So by my first week of collecting, I was up to about 12 to 15 currencies. And up to date, I've collected 100 countries of currency. And I've learned about 3 or 4 new countries, and I thought I had it in the bag in terms of geography and locations and stuff. But I tell people the highest currency is how we treat one another, because that's infinite. And when you look at these notes, they have number values on them. They can be added, subtracted, taken away. And I tell people I look at these currency notes as postcards to culture. So now you see the postcard, now it's up to you to explore it.
That's really profound.
For sure. And it's a beautiful reminder of why I'm out there. I'm out there to recharge people's spirits. You know, we charge our phones till they're 100%. We eat food, we get 8 hours of rest, hopefully. And we're still missing something. We're missing opportunity to have a spiritual recharge. So the only places where I see currency on the walls are restaurants that people love the food. They say, hey, I'm from here, I love your food, so that's on the wall. So I have a book of currencies, and I just reached 101, I believe, countries. And I'm excited to explore and share with everyone I come across the collection that I've been fortunate to
That's
have.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. So the next time we have you on, we're going to have to explore all of your currency.
Yep,
I mean, I
sure.
didn't mean to have that conversation because this is really about you and your music and the saxophone, and also the fact that you're going to be paying homage, right, to Bill Withers, the late Bill Withers, I should say.
In paradise, for sure.
Yeah. So do you want to share anything with our viewers before we take the break, before you perform for us?
Yes, I would like to let you guys know that this next song, Just the Two of Us, by Bill Withers featuring Grover Washington Jr., is a beam of light from this Black culture that has been the fertile soil for this world to flourish. And especially in Black History Month, Valentine's Day, everything coming up, this is the spirit that I want you guys to absorb and not just keep for yourself. I hope it's a bit much so that you can have something to spread to others with love.
Lovely. Love that. Honoring Black History Month and Valentine's weekend. All right. But you guys, we got to hang on because we're going to take a quick break. And when we return, Utril is going to perform Just the Two of Us. So don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back. Here now to perform Just the Two of Us in honor of the late Bill Withers and saxophonist Grover Washington Jr. Please welcome saxophonist Utril Rhaburn. And there you have it, music made with love. For more on Utril Rhaburn, check them out on Instagram at I Am Young Nomadic. That is our show today, mi gente. Thanks to all our guests for coming through. And to you, our viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of the show, you can check out the recap cast tonight and 24 hours a day at bronxnet.tv. I'm Rhina Valentin, and from all of us here at Open, may the universe provide, paz, prosperity, y amor. Happy Valentine's and happy Black History Month.